Hello, how is everybody doing today? Very nice to be back with you. I hope you're all happy and well. Very exciting day today. Oh my gosh, I'm going to share with you the brand new cover of the Earle Wellbeing magazine. Yes, it is here. I'm quite nervous actually about showing it, but here goes. Here it is. Look. So if you are a subscriber, you can expect to be getting this popping through your letterbox sometime this week. Maybe you've already got it. Let me know. Drop me a heart. Send me a wave if you're a subscriber already. There's a fab new subscription gift actually that's just gone live. One of my favourite British brands, Drops of Balance. I think this is worth about £22, a bit more. Free if you would like to subscribe to the magazine. So never been a better time. You get 6 issues for the price of 5. So you get a free issue and your subscription gift and free P&P in the UK. And yes, we can post it all over the world. You just pay that little bit extra for the postage. But here it is. And, you know, I was nervous about it because it's the birthday issue. Birthday being my birthday. So not today, but this month, middle of the month, is my birthday. And it's a big one. So I don't even think I can say the word. But anyway, it's on the cover. It's not upside down. It's not 90. I did think about having 2 30th birthday parties. I thought actually that kind of seemed to make more sense. It seemed to be more kind of me, where I am. But anyway, so this issue is all about aging well. And as you know, we've kind of slightly moved on just from talking about general wellness and general well-being for midlife women, although that's obviously the mainstay of everything that I do and that my team do here at Earle Wellbeing. But it's about how to have a better second half, particularly. So if you've had a bit of a rubbish first half, or maybe you're going through a tricky time and, you know, as we all know quite publicly, my midlife has not been easy, but you can get back on track. And there are simple ways, small health habits, little hacks, talking about biohacking, talking about nootropics, nutrigenomics, all sorts of things that we've been talking about over the last few years here together. Lots of ways that all add up to make a fantastic difference in the way you look, the way you feel. And I know that I look and feel better now than I did 10 years ago. And I've learned a lot in that time, come through a lot. And I want to share it. And a lot of it is in this magazine, and particularly in this issue. So if aging well is something that interests you, or a friend of yours, or a member of your family, then this is the issue to start subscribing if you have not done so before, especially because we've got a great gift. So thank you for all the nice comments. Thank you. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. And that's what I particularly love about this Instagram channel is its positivity. It's good news. And as part of that, I am thrilled today that we're doing an Instagram Live with a fabulous contributor who's actually written a piece for this magazine. So if you do have your issue to hand, or if you're going to get it shortly, then it's starts on page 30. I think it runs over 4 pages, all about CBD. So do you take CBD? Cannabidiol. Very, very interesting subject, particularly for midlife. A lot of interesting studies look at cannabidiol, CBD oil for menopause and perimenopause, and for inflammation, and for low mood, cognitive function. Well, I recorded a podcast towards the end of last year, actually, with a cannabis expert, Mary Biles, and she's going to be joining us here today on the live, which I think is amazing. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And just so that you know, CBD, cannabidiol, is non-addictive. It's not the hallucinogenic part. That's the THC, which we'll go on to talk about, obviously. But it seems to be safe and beneficial for so many people. And you can take it alongside HRT. You can take it alongside other supplements. We've actually just linked up with this lovely brand called Biogenic. and there is a Liz Loves, 15% Liz Loves, because this has a dropper that you take under the tongue. So I'd love to talk to Mary about that, because honestly, she knows everything about CBD. She's actually written a brilliant book, which I'm sure she will talk about. But I will see if I can find a mention of it, because I know that you're going to want to go and look. Quercetin and hay fever. Yeah, I have been suffering with hay fever. I am on the quercetin. Just quickly before we get into CBD, quercetin, go to BioCare Limited. They are an absolutely brilliant British supplement company. We do have a Liz Loves discount with them, and they do sell quercetin, and that's the one. I've actually stockpiled it. I've got so much quercetin. I've got a slightly itchy nose, so excuse me if I'm a little bit sniffy today, but it's nothing like it was. Oh my goodness. In years gone by, I've been absolutely streaming with hay fever. And I gave some to my dad recently because he was really streaming. And I said, come on, Dad, you've got to take quercetin. And of course, you know, he's old school. If it doesn't come from a doctor, then it doesn't work in his mind. But he has admitted that, yes, it is working for him. So, right, let me see. I'm going to get Lainey on here to start with. So Lainey is going to be moderating. Yeah, quercetin is brilliant, isn't it? So where are we? Let me just add here, add moderator. So if you've got any questions about Earle Wellbeing, about the magazine, then Lainey will hop on and answer those. And Mary, I can see that you are... Interesting, Sammy's saying CBD is great for epilepsy and can be used for our pets as well. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Hey, Mary.
Hello.
So nice to be with you. It's been ages that we were recording our podcast.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for having me back on. And it's so good. I was loving the intro about everything to do with midlife. I am also midlife and having my own challenges. But yeah, I'm embracing the midlife crisis and reclaiming the midlife crisis. It's not just something about silly men in their sports cars and having little dalliances with secretaries. It's actually a chance for growth and change. So yay.
It really is, you know, and I think that's how we need to frame it, as an opportunity. And it's kind of a bit of a watershed moment for me. You know, it was the waking up and reclaiming this as a marker in time to move forward. So, you know, I talk about having a better second half and, you know, celebrating 60 this month, thinking, actually, do you know what? 120 is not impossible. If you talk to the biohackers, they're all talking about 160, 180. But even if you don't look at it in exactly that terms, you know, I've been an adult for maybe 40 years. So our first kind of 20 years of life, you know, we're at school and we're living with parents and we're, you know, growing up and we're developing and we're controlled, you know, by other people and by timetables and all of that kind of thing. So for 40 years, I've sort of been my own person as an adult. So, you know, I can hopefully look forward to that amount of time again, which is hugely empowering. You know, how are we going to make it the best that we can be? How are we going to shake off stuff that's held us back? How are we going to hold on to our fitness, our mental health, our physical health? I'm challenged by it. I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also about being well in the present, right? I guess I don't get I'm not so attached to living to 120, but I wanna feel well now, and I do think there's a kind of a dying off process, which sounds scary because we think that, you know, if something's dying, then that's terrible. We all fear death so much, but I think actually, you know, it's that there's maybe letting go is a better phrase.
Yeah.
And there's a freedom in that, you know. So
freedom. I love not having periods anymore. You know, I love not having small children around. annoying. I mean, mind you, the older ones, of course, still have their issues. But let's talk about CBD and
CBD.
your cannabis journey, because
Yeah.
you've written a brilliant book. Remind us the title of your book, because
It's
seriously, if
called,
anybody's interested, go
yeah, the
buy it.
CBD book, The Essential Guide to CBD Oil, which I meant to have a little copy to put, but my neighbour's got it, and I saw her yesterday, and I was like, can I have my book back? And then didn't manage to get it back. So
Okay, Mary Biles' CBD book. It is brilliant. I
Thank
remember
you.
reading it before the podcast. Taught me a lot. What was your journey into CBD? Why are you so passionate about cannabis?
I guess I'm very passionate about fighting injustice, really, on every level. So it was really kind of cannabis in general, because CBD is one compound in the cannabis plant. It just happens to be abundant in hemp, which is the variety of cannabis that can be legally grown, basically. But cannabis is cannabis is cannabis. And I, through the experiences of the mother of a close friend, she was dying. She had pancreatic cancer, and the sort of opioids and stuff that was available for her pain, she just didn't tolerate. And she was having a really horrendous last sort of phase of her life. And actually, a cannabis oil managed her pain, helped her sleep better, helped with her mood, helped with her nausea, gave her a bit of appetite, and it just allowed her to die with dignity. So it was like, that was the kind of the introduction. And it kind of, for me, because I have, I can't bear injustice, I promised my friend I was going to do something about it. I was writing at the time, and it was almost like all the stars aligned, because literally everything fell in place. So between promising to my friend that I was going to do something about it, 2 weeks later, there was a hemp fair in the city where I was living at the time in Spain. And a week later, I was offered a job in the CBD industry. So it was like...
God, that is the stars aligning, isn't it? Everything is kind of going, you need to know about this.
Yeah. I think it was something bigger than myself, really. So yeah, so the sort of, the CBD was the easy access, because at the time, although things have changed a little bit now, getting legal access to medicinal cannabis was pretty tricky. But CBD oils in general. So when I say CBD oils, CBD, as I say, is one compound in cannabis and hemp, which is called a cannabinoid, which is special compounds that are found in cannabis. But actually, the products that were creating the buzz about 6 or 7 years ago, was when this whole kind of movement started in Europe, were better known as hemp extracts. So like CBD was the star player, and that was getting all the headlines. And actually, that's where the research was in terms of for epilepsy and anxiety and stuff like that. But actually, the products that people were taking were hemp extracts that were abundant in CBD, but also contain the other naturally occurring compounds in cannabis and hemp. So when I say that, I know, Liz, you know a lot about terpenes. So that's the aromatic compounds that are in all plants and flowers. When we smell lavender and we associate lavender with being really relaxing, that's, is linalool, which is one type of terpene, which can also be found in cannabis and hemp. And then there were other minor cannabinoids that were also present. And so the kind of combination of all these, a kind of beautiful synergy and dance between them, which we call the entourage effect, was essentially the kind of the basis of the success of all these products that were really just kind of capturing the headlines a few years ago.
Now, things like CBD, and I mentioned this one here, the CBD oil. Do they actually have compounds in them that can genuinely help? I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, absolutely swear by them. What's your view? Because obviously this is the legal stuff. This is not the hallucination.
There is a lot of interesting research into CBD, and it's a really, we're going to kind of take it on a kind of molecular level and kind of sort of really go granular. There is interesting research in CBD. For example, a lot of people would have seen the press, across the world, but in the UK, of these children who, have gone from having, you know, uncontrollable seizures to having their seizures more or less controlled. And so, you know, CBD is the main active compounds in those medicines that are being developed. So there are some approved medicines that, you know, is essentially, you know, very purified type of CBD. But that's a medicine. That's not the same as the kind of products that you can buy online or, you know, in a health food shop. There are interesting studies for anxiety, for example. So there's some observational studies. There's also some studies which don't necessarily mirror the kind of the real life experience. So there's a kind of a study which is looking at social anxiety, but it was kind of taking a really, really single high dose of purified CBD, giving it to a bunch of volunteers before a simulated public speaking test, and then it helped with their anxiety. So I don't know. I don't think, because that was using like doses of 200 milligrams of CBD. Now, you know, some people might take that in a month, so that's you know, not necessarily reflective of everyday experience.
That you build up, isn't it? So, you know, this one, for example, it says, you know, you start with just a few drops.
Yeah, well, this
under the tongue.
Yeah, this is the invitation, because, you know, a CBD company worth its salt cannot give you medical advice or dosing advice, because they're just not allowed to do that. So actually the beauty of that is that you are then invited to actually listen to your body, and rather than when you just go to the doctor and they say take X amount of milligrams a day for whatever, you start at what's a kind of sub therapeutic dose, a very low dose, and then you gradually build up over time until you notice in your body when you're getting the effects that you're looking for. So for some people, you know, I can't say, you know, I know for myself included, when I first started entering the perimenopause and the red mist descended, and I wanted to kill people, but you know, there was like, you know, anxiety that, you know, I've had anxiety in the past, but this was a different type of anxiety. But you know, we're all different. So I can't say to someone listening today who maybe has experienced anxiety, you need to take this amount of CBD. What I would say is that you build up over time, and you know, you might get some kind of benefit around 30 milligrams a day, or it might be more, or it might be less. But the invitation is to listen to your own body. And I think that's one of the things about CBD, is that it's there to empower us, actually. You know, we're kind of reclaiming the power back, you know, by listening to our bodies. So I think that's really a really important message. But, you know, other things related to the menopause and the perimenopause, you know, I myself have been noticing kind of more creaky joints and aches and pains and stuff like that. So, you know, CBD, the molecule is quite helpful for what it is, anti-inflammatory, we know that much, and it also interacts with different pain receptors. So, you know, it may be helpful for that kind of like inflammation related pain, headaches as well. Because what's, you know, I know it's something that you're interested in as well, is the endocannabinoid system. So
very much
the really fascinating thing about CBD, they call it a promiscuous molecule, which kind of, you know, sounds quite amusing. But what it means by that is it actually targets different receptors in our body. So rather, you know, usually a pharmaceutical drug will just be single molecule, which goes for kind of one molecular action. But with CBD, and this is one of the reasons it's quite hard to study, we know that it's like binding with serotonin receptors, which may explain why it's helpful for our mood and anxiety and stuff like that. And also, as I mentioned, the pain receptors. But it also helps to support what's called the endocannabinoid system, which probably very few people listening today have heard of. And you might think, well,
but we all have it, don't we?
We all have it. I mean, this is like
we all have
ancient system. Yeah, it's an ancient system that, you know, they found in like sea squirt. So we've had it, you know, throughout our evolution, basically. But the problem is, it was only discovered in the 1990s. And it's also kind of always linked to because it's essentially the endocannabinoid system. We have receptors in our brains, central nervous system, and a slightly different class of cannabinoid receptor in our immune system and organs throughout the body. But THC, which is the compound in cannabis which gets you high, basically, which is also therapeutic, by the way, in certain doses for certain conditions. It's not the bad cannabinoid. Binds directly with these receptors in our brains and central nervous system. So that's why, you know, you can feel this sort of sensation of being stoned. CBD indirectly supports this system. And why do we want to support this system? The reason why is because it's what we call a homeostatic regulator across everything. So homeostasis is essentially balance, right? And balance is our natural state. If we were living, you know, without pollution, without stress, our body is naturally wanting to be in homeostasis. And the endocannabinoid system is there to help us be in balance. So we produce our own endogenous endocannabinoids, so our own natural cannabinoids. So they're sort of they act in a similar way to compounds in cannabis. And together it has this balancing effect across everything, you know, sleep, mood, our immune system, our reproductive system. I mean, it's the endocannabinoids, is our ovaries produce anandamide. So anandamide is the main endocannabinoid, which, by the way, is named after Ananda, which is the Sanskrit word for bliss. So it's really, really important to help to support the endocannabinoid system, because how we live in these modern times, not sleeping enough, stress, drinking too much booze, eating rubbish, all affects our endocannabinoid system. And there is a theory, which there is, you know, certain, you know, significant amount of evidence to suggest that we can have endocannabinoid deficiency. So when we have these conditions where there's like an oversensitivity to pain, like fibromyalgia, migraines, IBS, there is evidence that suggests that an endocannabinoid deficiency could be one factor contributing to it.
Should everybody be taking it then? Is it something that is safe and potentially beneficial for all people?
Yeah, it's safe. You know, there's no data. It's safe and it's non-addictive. I know people who are new to cannabis, like, oh my God, am I going to be, you know, like stoned? You're not going to be stoned because it doesn't have an intoxicating effect. But, you know, you don't have to take it. It's like if you have a perfectly balanced endocannabinoid system, and by the way, there are other things that actually help with, you know, supporting the endocannabinoid. Singing increases anandamide levels. Dancing, doing things we love, you know, that bring us joy. Exercise, running, you know, Zumba classes. These are all things that, you know, help to support endocannabinoid. But if you're chronically ill, those things aren't necessarily accessible. So, you know, it could be an idea to supplement. And that's maybe the best way to think about it. It's actually like another health supplement that's just helping to support this healthy function.
And can you take it with other things? Does it have any interaction with other supplements, or, you know, like using some of the mushrooms, for example? I saw a question here about somebody, you know, taking reishi. Can you also take that alongside?
Yeah, I've not seen any sort of anything about interactions with mushrooms, for example. What is important, so if somebody, for example, we've heard a lot about CBD as a you know, there was a drug for a CBD drug for epilepsy. There are certain epilepsy anti-seizure medications where there is a drug-to-drug interaction, but we're talking at really, really high doses of CBD. So, you know, if you're taking, you know, if you have a medical condition and you're thinking about taking CBD as a medication in those higher doses, then that's something to speak to your doctor about, or even go to, you know, a medical cannabis clinic. Actually, that's legal now, and then you can be under the care of a doctor. But it is generally considered to be safe.
Yeah. It's very interesting you talk about pain. I know a number of people who've been using CBD drops for pain, giving them to elderly parents for pain relief, you know, palliative care. Lily, my daughter, who's had, you know, such a horrible experience with acute migraine, constant migraine, she's now under Professor David Nutt with drug science, getting legal cannabis, which I know she's talked about on her Instagram. It's an extraordinary natural substance, isn't it? It's almost like a gift from the gods.
It is.
It has so many benefits for us, and the fact that we've got these receptors in our bodies, and as women, you know, in the ovaries, that we're meant to have this stuff. We're meant to have CBD.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, you know, if someone's like struggling and feeling kind of out of balance, it's worth trying. It's worth trying. It's not a panacea, Liz. That's the thing I must like point out. You know, I saw somebody kind of wrote in the comment it didn't you know, work for them. You know, I've not had a road to Damascus moment with CBD, despite the fact that I'm here talking about it, you know. But because, you know, when I was writing the book, I spoke to a lot of patients, and when it works, it really bloomin' works. You know, it can be extraordinary. Yeah, and also, you know, it's something that for conditions that you'd never imagine. You know, there was this for autism, for example. You know, it's and in children, you know, the where it is approved actually so far is in pediatrics. So, you know, it's worth trying. It's worth persevering with as well, because, you know, you may not, the first product you try may not be the one that's best for you. So it's worth kind of, you know, persevering. I really definitely recommend persevering.
And what about the different strengths? Because I know if you walk into any health food shop, you know, you can see the different percentages. And I'm just looking on here, actually, you know, this has, it says 134 milligrams per mil of CBD. You know, what does all that mean? What should we start with?
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, I think you kind of, to start, because it's not cheap, by the way. That's the thing. It's not cheap. The prices have come down, and often, like, I see companies doing, you know, fairly good kind of discounts and stuff like that. I recommend going for the kind of mid strength. So, you know, you can kind of, the lowest strengths you would get through a bottle really quickly. You know, the lowest strength is usually about 300 milligrams in a kind of 10 ml bottle. They're little teeny tiny bottles. I know Biogenics is a slightly Earle is a slightly bigger bottle. So I would recommend going for maybe a sort of 500 milligrams or you know, 1,000 milligrams, and literally on the bottle it will say how many milligrams are in a drop, basically. So I would recommend starting on, you know, 10 milligrams a day, splitting that, however many drops that is, dependent on the strength of the bottle, of the oil that you've chosen, splitting that, you know, in 2 doses, one when you get up in the morning and before you go to bed. Just a little quick tip. Some people are quite sensitive, but have a kind of, because it can be very helpful for sleep, actually. And that's something that I've found, you know, and that's for the perimenopause. The menopause, as we know, sleep, absolute nightmare. So, but just don't take it just before you go to bed when you're first starting, because some people find it might make them a little bit more alert. Not my case, and not the case generally, but it's just worth the tip. Have it around kind of, you know, tea time or dinner time, and then you'll know when you're first starting. But sleep is a big one, actually, that people find it very helpful for.
Really fascinating. And lastly, how long do you think it will take, you know, to see if it's going to make a difference? Is it something that we should try every day for, you know, a month to give it
I try for a month. I think you'd know after a month. I mean, some people find, for example, with, you know, it's just so individual. Some people find with, you know, anxiety, once they've got the dose right, because it is, you know, you're building up and finding the right dose. That's the thing. And just to say, more doesn't mean more, you know, more, the higher the dose doesn't mean it's more effective, because, you know, we have each of us has our sweet spots. There's no point taking too much or more than you need, because then you're just throwing money away, right? But I would say you should know trying it for a month with consistency, and maybe, you know, having a little kind of diary or, you know, journal, just to kind of write down how you're feeling, to keep a note of the doses that you're taking.
Really fascinating. Mary, thank you. Your article is brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
Brand new magazine out just now. So, really, really interesting. Where can people connect with you, and remind us the title of your book again?
Yeah, the book's called the CBD book, The Essential Guide to CBD Oil. It's available. It's published by HarperCollins, so it's available. You know, Amazon. There you go. Now you can see it's really beautiful, actually. They did a really good job with the design. It's lovely. And, you know, you can connect with me. I have a website, Mary Biles, so that's MaryBiles.com. I'm on, you know, the usual social media malarkey. And I have a podcast as well.
Great.
Cannabis Voices. So there's lots of interesting, you know, if you want to find out more, understand CBD, medicinal cannabis, etc. There's lots of interesting interviews with doctors and scientists and patients and stuff like that.
Again?
Cannabis Voices.
Cannabis Voices. Excellent. Yeah. And thank you for being a guest on my podcast. I will pop a link to our episode actually on my stories on Instagram, because I remember it being absolutely fascinating.
Oh, and thank you for everything you're doing, Liz. Honestly, it's, you know, it takes bravery and courage to you know, to sort of speak your truth and and you know, take a
Yeah.
different path. So
Yeah.
and have a, I wish you a very happy 60th birthday. May you continue to glow with vitality. Sorry.
I still can't get over that word. I don't know.
I know, I can imagine.
I got it in my head.
How did it
I need
happen?
to keep saying it. I know. I know. I actually write about it. I've written a very brutally frank and honest piece in the back of the magazine about how I feel about it all.
I look forward to
Anyway,
reading
Mary,
that.
it's a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you so
Likewise.
much for being with us today, and all the best with your book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
And goodbye to everybody. Hello and goodbye.
Thanks so much, Mary.
Okay. Bye.
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 Click off on the little white square. Absolutely fascinating. Highly recommend Mary's book. I learned a lot. It was hugely helpful for me. It was hugely helpful for Lily with her pain journey. And I am delighted that we have linked up with this really lovely company, Biogenic. And this is the one, it's called Premium CBD Oil, L. And it's fast acting Ayurvedic blend with clary sage for women. So it's especially formulated for midlife women. So I think there is so much noise out there and there's a lot of confusion. But if you're looking for something as a starting point to dip your toe in that water, as Mary said, give it a month. We do have the Liz Loves discount here. So it's a very, very good, high quality, trusted brand. And I'm delighted. And I have to say, they sent me a whole load of things to try, and their oils for the skin. Oh my goodness. My hands were so chapped after I was in the garden this weekend, a long weekend. And I was thinking, oh no, my hands look absolutely terrible. I'm going to be kind of on air showing them. I rubbed some on just before my live just now, and my skin is transformed. So I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely delighted to have discovered this lovely brand, Biogenic. I'll make sure we pop a link in the caption. If you'd like to subscribe to the magazine and read Mary's article, of course, you can do, lizarwellbeing.com. That's the place to go. And this is the free subscription gift from Life Armor. Lovely drops. These are drops of balance. And this has another interesting compound we've talked about a lot here, ashwagandha. That is the main one that's in here. I love this. I have these in my bag. Ashwagandha, shatavari root, lemon balm, schisandra berry, and a little bit of peppermint. Really good. Just keep them with you when you just need to take the edge off, a little bit of anxiety, and then that is the thing. Now, who caught my live with the brilliant founder of the Bristol Fungarium, Tom? And I'm delighted that CBD doesn't seem to have any interaction with the mushrooms, because I am adding mushrooms to my coffee. This is one of theirs, reishi, which seems to be like the kind of king of mushrooms in terms of energy and immunity, stressing less. I've got the little leaflet here about reishi. Oh my gosh, there's just so much going on with reishi and the fact that it's this brilliant adaptogen. Go and check them out. I'm really hoping that Tom will come back and chat with us again, because I loved our conversation. If you haven't heard it, please look it up. We always keep the lives, we save them, so do go and replay it. Reishi, that's the one that I'm dropping in my coffee, and I treated myself to a little bit more of this. This is the Lion's Mane vegan chocolate. Absolutely love it. It's so delicious. In fact, I am going to have a little nibble of it there. Brilliant stuff. Love all of that. Great that we've got so many Liz Loves discounts. We've got that, of course, on Bristol Fungarium as well, 15% off. Head to bristolfungarium.com. The Biogenic, that's Biogenic CBD. That's their website, biogeniccbd.co.uk. And then Life Armor, if you want to go and check out their balance drops. You can actually buy them with a Liz Loves discount if you don't want to subscribe to the magazine. You can buy them separately. They are £22.50, but why not get them free with a subscription? That's what I think. Anyway, I'm going to be back with you live on Thursday. Bit of a change of subject. We are hoping for a bit of sun, aren't we, this summer? But how do we get a tan, should we want one, and stay safe? Well, the answer, of course, is sunless tanning. and we have a brilliant discussion planned all about how to get best self-tan, something that I have never covered here before. So I'm hugely excited about that. I hope you'll be with me either live at 12:30 or later on Catch Up. Until then, have a brilliant rest of the day, a wonderful mid part of the week. Let me know your CBD stories, let me know your mushroom stories. Always love to hear. It's great to have these conversations, and look forward to seeing you in real life very soon. Well, real life, live anyway, back here on Thursday. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.